So, let's go ahead, before we move on to any of the other things that aren't the flesh, let's do the flesh. So, down, and I think I'm going to start off with a Tallarn Flesh base. This is one of the Games Workshop Citadel base colors, very high opacity, so we don't need to put tons of it on to get good coverage, which is what I love about those paints. So now it's time to switch over to a thinner brush. So we're going to be working on the face, and we just want to make sure that we don't hit any of the areas we've already gone over. So let's make sure we're all in focus here. Okay. And we're not particularly concerned about the goggles that he's wearing right now, because we'll probably just end up painting over those anyway. And he does have some facial hair, but we're also not concerned about that, because that's on a higher level rather, and we're just going to paint back over that. So you don't need to worry about covering them, but you also don't have to worry about getting unwanted paint on it. So we're just not concerned. Very, very easy. Alright. But we are keeping this very thin. We've watered it down a considerable amount. We don't want to clog any details in the face. And if we get it thin enough, we can even still take advantage of our pre-shading. So, I'm not sure if you can tell in the video here, but there is a difference between the forehead and under the cheek here. There's a significant tonal difference. So, there we go. Let's make sure that we get some back behind that ear. I think there's just a little spot of flesh back there. Okay, so here we got a basic skin tone down. So let's get just a little more paint and we'll go ahead and do the hands. Alright. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this up, and I'll be back in a second, and we'll be ready to start applying some washes to these flesh parts. So we've got the flesh down now, and what we're going to be doing next is we're going to go ahead and put some wash onto all of these parts. We're going to be using the Ogryn Flesh, and we're just going to coat all the parts that we just did with Tallarn Flesh. So be aware, this is going to make it look a little dark, a little darker than you're going to want it in the end. But that's okay. That's what we want. We want lots of dark recess areas. So we're going to be doing some washing, or not washing, but shading on top of these washes. So it's essentially going to leave behind all of these really nice dark recesses that we're making right now with the washes. And it's going to leave some really nice highlights on top. Okay, let's get the other hand. Okay, so there we have that. And now I think we'd probably better let that dry for a minute, and we'll be back in just a second to do some highlighting. Okay, so the wash on the flesh is all done. So now it's time to do some highlights on the flesh. We've got a mix of white and Ogryn Flesh, and I'm just going to be hitting the high points here. At the forehead, A little touch on the nose. Get the cheekbone and the back edge of the chin, or jawline rather. And do the same over here. Okay. We're going to try not to overwork the face here. I'm going to get a little more on the forehead because it's catching a lot of light. Maybe a little on that upper lip. And it's okay to get some in the beard because we're going to be going back over that. So let's keep rolling here with the hands. We're going to get these upper parts. And then we're going to try and hit the fingers as we can. So next step that I'd like to conquer is the rifle itself. Let's start off with taking care of the stock, which will be sort of a wooden color. We're gonna be doing it in a different shade of brown here. We're gonna do more of a traditional sort of chocolatey brown, or at least light milk chocolate. This is Bootstrap Brown from the P3 line. So we're just gonna go ahead and I've got a thinned down version of it here. We're just gonna put it down on all of these stock areas. Okay. There we are. It looks like the stock comes all the way out to about here, so we'll go ahead and do that, and then we'll cut back in with any colors that we need to fix any problems that we've caused. I know this is sort of contrasting with our sort of realistic shading so far, but once we get a wash on there, it's really going to come together, and it'll look very unified. Let's just go ahead and coat everything here because we're just going to be going back over most of these parts with other colors anyway. Might as well get it all the way to the edges. Okay, so here we are on that one, and I'm going to let this dry for just a minute. I'm going to put down another coat exactly where we put this one, and I will be back in just a moment. So the next step is we are going to do some of the gold accents that are on the gun. So these little, I guess they're maybe ammo drums or some such thing on the sides, and you can see there are two of them. There's one on the interior here, along with the metal grip plate that's on the underside here, and some of the sight rails. We're going to do all those in gold. So before we do any washing on this model, or at least for the gun, let's go ahead and hit these areas that we want to be gold. And since the rest of this is already brown, we don't have to do any undercoating for this per se. It should have a very nice opacity on top of this brown. So, and this is just shining gold from the Citadel line. Okay. Get that. Alright. Let's try and get the there we are. Try and get this one in here without touching anything else. Alright, got that. So now let's go ahead and get this sight rail. Okay. And the underside where he's gripping, I'd like for that to also be gold. So let's go ahead and get that. Alright, and there is a trigger guard down here that I think should also be metallic. So I'm going to flip this over, get the other side of the grip. Okay. Alright. So now, I believe there is a clamp ring that's right here at the end of the stock. So let's make sure we get that real quick. Okay, looks pretty good now. And so the butt of this stock here also appears to have some sort of metal applique work there. And this little triangular butt piece here, let's also make that gold. Okay. And that'll be it for that. Let me just take a once over here. There's one little spot I'd like to hit on the inside of this. Just be careful not to hit anything you've already painted, because it'll cost you a lot of work to go back and fix little spots. Okay, so got the gold on there. So now what we're going to need to do is I'm going to do these areas that we've just gone over with the brown and with the gold with yet another brown wash. This is Devlin Mud from Citadel, and I find that this on browns and golds just looks fantastic, especially the golds. It really makes it look like worn copper or bronze. So let's just go ahead and start here. And try real hard not to get the on the fingers again. Okay. I'm going to finish this up real quick, and I'll be back in just a second.